Hello, the Purple Butterfly here, otherwise known as People of Seven on Twitter and YouTube, People are elsewhere on the internet. My blog is located at purplebutterfly-people.blogspot.com. My soaps, Purple Butterfly Soaps, could be located at people.etsy.com, and my t-shirt designs, purplebutterfly-people.tmail.com. And I was just thinking, hey, I want some bread. So I was getting ready to make the bread, and then it occurred to me, why don't I bring you along with me? So, here's what you're going to need. You're going to go to, say, Kroger's, Myers, Rumpke, wherever it is you get groceries, and get some fast-rising yeast for some yeast bread or some active yeast, whatever kind. But you want the fast-rising, so that way this will be done tonight. Instead of, oh, well, it has to rise. Then we have to do this. Then we have to do that. And then you'll be able to eat it sometime tomorrow, like lunchtime. Because it's 4:10 p.m. And I want to have this for dinner tonight. Not lunch tomorrow. Okay, so the first thing you'll do, you come over here. You grab your soap. This is my chef soap. Wash your hands, okay? Don't be starting no food and not wash your hands. Because, salmonella and all those little L's and Ittles and, all that stuff, that's real. Okay, so then you take your yeast. Well, let's give you the ingredients first. It's a 1, 2, 3, 5 recipe, okay? You're going to take 1 packet of yeast, 2 cups of water, 3 tablespoons of melted butter, 5 cups of flour. I use self-rising flour. The self-rising isn't for the yeast bread because, you do need the yeast for it to be bread. If you just use the self-rising flour, you're going to have some flat, tasteless stuff that ain't going to taste anything like bread. So, the reason we use self-rising flour is so that way you don't have to measure out and add salt and measure out and add this, measure out and add that. It's already in there. So, because every time I try to put salt in something, I either put way too much or not enough. Well, this is already measured out for the salt. Anyway, hold on, let me hold this camera right. This is the water and the yeast and a tablespoon of sugar. So, it's sitting in there proofing. I also put a tablespoon of flour in there so that way if the sugar, because, we don't use a lot of sugar here, so the sugar could be old. If the sugar is not helping the yeast to proof, the flour's in there to do that. The temperature is, hold on. You're not supposed to take the temperature over 110 degrees, so even if you microwave the water, you want to make sure it doesn't go to 110 degrees before you start. So I put 1 cup of water in there, stuck it in the microwave for 2 minutes. Then I put another cup in there and stirred the two together until I got 87.2. That's warm enough. But it was 90 something when I started. But as long as you don't go over 110 or 112, then your yeast will not burn. Then I told everybody in here making bread, don't dump out that disgusting looking stuff in the kitchen. It's got to sit there for 20 minutes. They went, oh, okay. So it now has, well, hold on, let me taste it right quick. I don't suggest people try this if they're not used to it. Wow, that's going to be good. Have you ever tasted fresh yeast bread or picked up the container of yeast bread and went so you could smell or taste or glean the essence of what it tastes like when you go on a loaf? That's what that tastes like. It's got a slight sweet quality. That's from the tablespoon of sugar. It's got that bread taste. That's from the flour. And it has a slight salt taste from, you know, the little sprinkle of salt I did. But it'll taste perfect like the flour once we go ahead and put these two together. So here's what I do that's different from everybody else, because there are people who go, oh, well, that's quick rice yeast. You don't even have to melt it or proof it or anything. All you got to do is mix it with the dry ingredients and go on with your recipe. That sounds good in theory, except for the little teeny pieces of yeast and all the flour may or may not moleculize, and it's almost like emulsifying soap. Even if it says, oh, just to emulsification, blah, 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 you still want to try for a light trace. You still have to mix that stuff up until it does something. Because otherwise, you might end up with a false trace or whatever, and that is never fun. So, in the meantime, let's come over here and get out my favorite fake butter. Because I love that song, and I love the taste of this. Everything's better with blue bonnet on it. Ah, there we go. You alright? Somebody go boom in there. Or made a sound that's similar to a boom. Let me stand this up right quick. Yeah. That way we can get to scooping the butter. You can use 3 scoops. Whether this be a teaspoon or a tablespoon, just do 3 of them. Like I said, 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay? Now, it's going in the microwave. I'm going to hit the pizza button. That way I'll get a nice 3-minute mark. Now, let me explain how I got this recipe. When I was a kid, in home economics class that I barely passed, I had this goofy teacher that thought it was fun to teach everybody how to knit instead of how to sew. And then the first thing she said was, raise your hand if you already know how to knit. So I'm thinking, okay, she'll give me something to quilt or whatever and sew. Instead, she wanted me to teach the other people how to knit. I was like, so how much you paying me? What do you mean? I was like, you're getting paid to be in the class and, you know, work in the capacity of a teacher, so how much you gonna pay me? Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Well, then you don't have a instant built-in teacher or assistant. I'll be sitting over here with the rest of the class. I want to learn how to bake bread because, you know, that's supposed to be all the rage and so forth and so on. Because I wanted to learn how to do that way back then, 50-something years ago. Well, 40-something years ago because, you know, I was a teenager at the point. Anyway, someone said, well, basically all you have to remember is 1 packet of yeast and 2 cups of water can go with up to 7 cups of flour. Basically, you start at 5 and then add to it. I went, 5? Well, 6 basically, but you know, it could be too thick if you just start with 6 automatically, so you have to start 5. And I went, okay. Well, over the years I've tweaked it. So, like I said, 1 packet of yeast, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1 tablespoon of flour. See, those are the ones. Then 2 cups of water that you start with under 110, 112 degrees. 3 tablespoons of butter, or 3 scoops of butter. This is a spork this time, so that may or may not be a tablespoon. It could be a teaspoon. It doesn't matter. As long as it's melty, yeah, because it has to go in here with the water. Or milk, depending on your recipe. Some people prefer that their liquid be milk. Or juice or something. I've once made bread using coffee as the liquid because it was here, it didn't have to be heated up. I thought it would give an interesting taste or texture. What it did instead, because you couldn't taste the coffee at all, but it gave it a gorgeous color. So I might try that some point in time too. Just not while my aunt's here, because my aunt is allergic to coffee. So that's a taboo ingredient in anything I cook while she's here. Unless I'm willing to make 2 of whatever it is. 1 for the family, 1 for her, because she can't have anything with coffee in it. She will break out in hives in her throat or colds, and that's no fun for nobody. Yeah, because, you know. In the meantime, let's stir this and stir this. And then let's realize this is the wrong size bowl. 5 cups of flour is not going to fit in here. I'll be right back. I can't believe I made that goofy mistake. Okay, let's go for bigger. Yeah. Okay, let's knock ourselves silly with the stuff falling down from the ceiling. Specifically the top of the refrigerator. Yeah. Now, we can either use a bowl this big, or we can get away with a bowl this big, because it says right on it 3 quarts. This is only 1 quart. At least I think so. Let's look. No, this is Topi's bowl, and it doesn't have a measure on it. So just so I can be sure in my brain, we'll put the 3-quart one here away, because when I don't remember certain measurements, I just go for whatever is larger of the choices. So since that's been sitting there on top of the refrigerator collecting dust for a while, we'll hit it with some Dawn. We hit it with some water, because this is something I'm going to eat for dinner. So just like I washed my hands before I started, we're washing this bowl. Yeah. And that includes the back of the bowl too. I don't understand. I see it a lot. People wash the inside and wash the outside. Now what if something you're picking up to put stuff in got something yucky here, and you've washed the inside but you didn't wash the outside? That means you're transferring all that stuff there. So wash inside and outside. Edges, sides, all of that, okay? Now, this I'm going to put up. Then I'm going to come over here, grab a paper towel. Sorry, hate to be in the dark on you, but I see water all over this brand new camera, and unlike my Hydrowave, this is not waterproof. So hold on. Let's just kind of get rid of the water. There we go. I got most of it. Had to be real gentle because I didn't want to accidentally swipe or anything with the camera. That's happened before. That's how I know that would not be a good thing. So, let's see. There's some kind of debris had fell in there. Let's see what that is. Looks like a piece of pepper. Well, if it's pepper, it's going to be a little teeny bit of spice in this bread, because I didn't use any pepper. I tend not to use pepper. It's a flavor I do not like in bread. But this morning, There's pepper all over this side of the stove because went to open the stove to get something out, and this was open. And after I got done cracking up, I decided to see what it is. That's pepper. It was open. It went everywhere. So apparently, certain people have opened this up, decided to go, what is that? And then they gathered it up, put it there, and didn't tell nobody. And we find surprises like that all over the place. So basically it's like expect anything, expect everything, then do what you need to do. Okay, now for a 1 cup measure, because we do not have a 1 cup scoop of any type, I'm going to use a coffee cup. Well, that's not true. We do have a stainless steel set of measuring cups from 1 cup down to 1/4, but they're for soaping. And you know, I do not combine my soaping supplies with my food supplies, because, well, I'm the clutch that would mess that up, and then people be ingesting something you don't want them to ingest. One thing to wash your body with something like soap, but you don't want to have that in your food. So, you know, this self-rising flour, okay? But we still making yeast bread. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get, well, that's not gonna easily come out of there. So what we're gonna do instead, move this. Man, I feel like I gotta sneeze, but that is not gonna be what I'm gonna do. Because, well, that would not be good. Not when I'm cooking. Okay. And now you know why I do this over the stove. My stove has no burners and all that. It's flat. So when we spill something, we just take something else and wipe it completely up. So anyway, 1 cup. 2 cup. Oh, well, 3 cup. What looks like a whole half a cup is on the top of the stove. And we're going to call that waste because we're not scooping it up and putting it in this food. That's 4 cups. And this would be cup number 5. Okay, now. That can go in there. Okay. Now, this buttery, yeasty, watery concoction. Now, and for those that are going, well, what's it look like? It looks like a whole bowl full of flour. Because that's what it is. And then this looks like, well, you have to see from the bowl while I pour it, but basically it's just yeast, water, butter, tablespoon of sugar, and then we're just going to stir, 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 until it sticks and gets all yucky. It's going to get tough to stir, 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 stir. And I am happy to report that I will not need to add an extra cup of flour. So it's still 1, 2, 3, 5. Because, well, I might have to actually add some more water instead of some more flour. Because it's doing the, I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, it's kind of barely holding together, but it's making big lumps. Yep, yep. So, next thing we're going to do, I'm going to let this sit for a second. We're going to clean all this up. We're going to make sure every bit of this is going in here. Now, we're going to take this, because it's the edge of the yeast packet. And we're going to scoop, well, I'm not doing this. We're going to just scoop this in here. Because that's easier than trying to get a broom. Now we get to clean this up. Yeah. And then this is history. Okay, now. That way I get this space back. Yeah, that's called reverse multitasking. Because I needed this spot, so everything that was in the spot had to go. And that meant the mess you made had to go too, because, you know, we clean up our messes around here. Now, it smells so good. That's my chef soap. It actually smells like coffee and oranges, because it's made with coffee grounds, fresh coffee grounds. It's made with orange rinds, well actually Tamarando rinds, those are clementines. Is it tamarinds or clementines? Those itty bitty little oranges. Yeah. Saved some of those and then threw them in that blender and grounded them up. And it's in there. Okay, now. So, hands are all nice and clean. And let's scrape the edges. We want all of this to go in here. And I couldn't find both of my loaf pans. We only have one that's too small. So I bought this 3-pack. And it comes with its own set of lids. So yeah, we take off my favorite ring. Because the last thing you want is your butterfly being caked up with flour or lost inside your recipe. Now we're going to push all this down using the back of your hands. I don't know why, even when you use your hands for any other purpose, when you do it this way, all the moisture that's in there tends to stick and form the perfect ball. And then the next thing we're going to do is leave this sit for like 45 minutes until it doubles. And then once it doubles, you're going to punch it down, knead it, form it, let it rise again, and then bake it. Yep, yep. That took like no time, right? I mean, it's 4:33. We've been cooking, chatting, talking for not even 30 minutes. And I'm almost ready to let this rise a little bit. Yeah. Oh, darn it. I did not buy some saran wrap. So, yeah, when it's time to double this, I'm going to see what I can use, because the top of this baking bowl has been lost for years. Okay. Now the little one has a little blue top. This one does not. And this is too big to put in that particular pot and go, oh, well, it'll fit. Because when this doubles in size, it's going to take up all of that room. Now, we might need to add a little bit more flour because it's starting to stick to me. Ooh, good stuff. Not too salty. Not too floury, not too sugary. That's perfect. Okay, let's get all this off of there. Now, let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, handful of flour. I'm just going to sprinkle it like that. And then I'm going to rub together. Not a lot, just enough. So that way, the sticky that's on there doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan, because we got to proof it. Yeah. That's another thing. I always use the stove, because when I use this part of the counter, well, it's been there since the house was built in 1936, 37, 38, something like that. Oh, wait a minute. 1934, the original owners was brown. I have a photographic memory, but sometimes I have to stop and access the photograph in my mind. Anyway, that's, to my knowledge, since we've been here anyway, that has never been leveled off or finished or anything. We've added some improvements, but it's never been taken out and set, in place with a level, so forth, so on. So when we had a couple of issues going wrong with the house, and like when we had the couple of earthquakes and a couple of tornadoes that damaged stuff around the house, it never got, see, like, oh, this is wrong, let's fix this, so forth and so on. Nothing ever got thought about. So when you put something there, like a glass or whatever, your glass will tilt, And if you put something there that you want to be in a certain format, it's going to tilt. Now, that's ready to go. That last little bit of flour, we don't need it in there, because now we have to coat it with a little bit of oil. You'll see people do that step all kinds of different ways. I just put a little bit of oil in there. I don't put it on my hands and rub it. I put a little bit of oil in there, lift up my dough, go like this, and then I just drop it in there. Turn it a couple of times, flip it over, turn it a couple of times. Yeah. And that should put me right at the 30-minute mark. Yeah. And it's now time to let it rise for about 45 minutes. 28.39 minutes. I know how long it takes me to do stuff. Yeah. Now see, this is what I'm talking about. We used to have one of these for every last one of our bowls. But as you can tell, that's not the one that went there. But I put that with the one it came off of. That's another thing. Whenever I use something that, like that particular baking bowl, when I wash it, I wash the top too. That way it never gets lost, okay? Now, we're going to close up the flour. Clean my hands off. Now I'm going to find a Kroger's bag, I do believe. Yeah. Kroger's bags are recyclable. And if you turn them inside out, or actually any grocery bag, you turn them inside out, now you have a sterile surface. You don't have to worry about the ink and all that because that's on the inside, okay? I'm going to put that with the dough. And then I'm going to take this, because it's large enough. And that's the only reason, because it's large enough. And wash this. I could also use the Rachel Ray top. It's tempered and all that. But that will require digging out a whole great big Dutch oven. And then that means I will have to wash that too, since I always do the tops along with the bottoms. This came from my soap pot, which means the top is right there. So it's not quite a seal, but since this is completely covered up, this will kind of like take over most of the gap, and I can just push it down to that particular level. I'm going to pick it up so you can see. See that? It's literally right where, there's the plastic bag. This is right where the seal is. I'm going to stick it in the oven without turning it on. Let it rise for 45 minutes. And then when it does, double in temperature, double in size, this will be floating on top. So, yeah. No matter what I do, I always have this there, just so that way I can easily manage it. Because when things get heavy or awkward, I still have this brace on my leg. I still have mobility problems. I'm still using a whole lot of things for balance, so that will be one of the things I use to keep from falling over. See, I have this on my leg. This is a permanent orthotic. I asked the doctor, I said, when does this come off? And he said, oh sure, you could take the rollator off, or you can move the magazine right there. I was like, I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about this. Oh no, that stays there. It's like, okie dokie. This guy got jokes. I understand it, but he got jokes. Okay, now. Oh, by the way, if you don't have a pair of scissors handy when it's time to open the yeast, get a serrated steak knife and fold the package over and just, that's how I got it open without having to remember where my scissors were. Okay? So, now the only thing I'm doing is cleaning up. So that can go in there. This can go here. At some point in time, I'm going to take this and cover it with like tape or whatever, because otherwise you put stuff here and it just goes all the way through. See? Well, no, we can't see because it's not available to your subdivision. But anyway, that little container has an open bottom, like slats, and the little yeast packets fall down unless you fold it over. So I'm going to put something there to like block that, so that way when you put something that's, there's no slats for it to go down, it'll just be solid. Anyway, Mom do need her breakfast. That can go to the dishes. This can go over here. This has been People of 7 on Twitter and YouTube. People of elsewhere on the internet. My blog is located at purplebutterfly-people.blogspot.com. My soaps, Purple Butterfly Soaps, can be located at people.etsy.com. My t-shirt designs, purplebutterfly-people.blogspot.com. Oh, that's heavy. Whew. My t-shirt designs, purplebutterfly-people.tmail.com. Y'all stay blessed, stay tuned. Bye now. Join me in 45 minutes and I'll show you what the dough looks like right before I stick it in the oven. Yeah.